Okay, right, here I am. I'm going to unbox a vinyl album. I do know it's a vinyl album because I bought it with an Amazon voucher that I got for my birthday. One of the albums I bought with an Amazon voucher I got for my birthday. Let's get my keys out. Here it is. Look at the packaging, Amazon. Is that really ecologically conscious? I think not. Right, actually, I might be able to do it with my bare hands. I'll do it with my bare hands. Maybe I could... sorry. Maybe I could do it with I could keep this box and put some of the rubbish in that I've accumulated around my flat. Right. But I do think that this is a bit overkill for one album. They used to just send them in padded envelopes, padded cardboard envelopes. That would have been better than all this, I'm sure. Alright, here we go. This is just massive. I'm doing it with my bare hands. Right, okay. A whole tree's worth of paper here. Oh my lord. And in here, now, unlike my Queen album, which came just as it was, this is now wrapped in yet more cardboard. Amazon, this really isn't good enough. Doing this times whatever the album sales are now, or the vinyl sales, being as how they seem to be topping 1 million every time. Oh, this is a Queen A Day at the Races one. Okay, cool. Okay, because I had ordered a Rod Stewart album as well. But this is A Day at the Races. Okay, I know Ashley will be pleased to see that. Okay, let's just have a look to see if it's clean. But that is just unbelievable, that amount of packaging. Really is. Okay, just take the plastic cover off it. Very nice. It's very nice. Again, like my Night at the Opera. In fact, like the coloured vinyls, they're all on Virgin now. I think EMI must have bought Virgin. Okay, and there's the album. See how clean it is. Bad light in here. I'm sorry, but that doesn't look too bad compared to other new vinyl that I've bought, which has just been covered in dust. One of these days, I know I've got my Disco Anti-Stat, but that's a bit sort of past its prime now. The brushes are a bit dirty on it, so I need to get a new record cleaner of some sort. But yeah, even brand new vinyl, it doesn't do it any harm just to give it a clean, just one clean. Okay, but there it is. So that will be on my RP8 a wee bit later on. Right, but now here I am coming to the subject of this video, because I had a letter published, well, to be more precise, I had actually sent 2 letters. What I did was sent them a letter about my bass boom issues prior to buying the DAC-R. They're well documented on here, but you know, just to surmise really, it was just how to tame the bass on loudness ward CDs. Now, you know, one system is not going to sort of, you know, think, oh, I've got a loudness ward CD and I'll tame the bass. Oh, I haven't got a loudness ward CD and I won't tame the bass, kind of thing. But so it would have been a tweak, which would have, you know, it would have affected the whole system, but it would have had the effect of taming my worst, most unruly CDs. And as you lot know, later on I bought the DAC-R, which for me seems to have done it. Okay, but I kind of sent Hi-Fi World another email saying that I'd got the DAC-R, still wanted their opinion on the duet cable. Okay, they've published both letters in the October edition, no, November edition of Hi-Fi World. Okay, it's available now if you go onto their online magazine store. It's in the November issue. It's got a lovely pair of tannoys on the front, tannoy Westminsters, I think they are. And they only published half of my second email, probably because they didn't want me to take up the entire magazine, and possibly because I said things that they might not want to print due to the fact that it was probably a little bit close to the knuckle, really. Their reply about the bass boom issues was that they were surprised that the DAC-R had done it, and really, wouldn't I be better off with a pair of Castle Avon speakers that they reviewed in the October edition of Hi-Fi World, which I didn't get. But for me, it seems to have worked. Yes, obviously, my Loudness Ward CDs are a little more unruly in the bass than my non-Loudness Ward CDs, but obviously that's down to the mastering. You're never ever going to make it perfect, but they're at least a bit more bearable to listen to than they were. Okay, I think possibly with the best will in the world, the Apollo R on its own, without the DAC, is a bass spec CD player. It's extremely good for the amount of money that you pay, and you could pay a lot more from other manufacturers and still not sort of do the magic that the Apollo R does. But on a more revealing system than budget components, it does show up one or two slight shortcomings, bass integration being one of them, and the DAC-R just controls it a bit more, okay, and makes the whole lot a little bit more kind of palatable. Okay, right. That's not to say that the problem was any huge problem anyway. It was just a few CDs that were just irritating me. But yeah, it's the mastering. Right. Okay. So it got me kind of thinking, though. The whole issue got me thinking about having bought the DAC-R. The first thing I did was nip onto a high resolution download site. This is called HD Tracks, okay, and I found I didn't want to spend too much money, so I found an Isley Brothers album that was about a £5 and downloaded that. These were 2496, so 24-bit 96k files, as opposed to 16-bit 44k, which is the normal CD spec. Okay, and the first thing I noticed was that the DAC-R, which I thought was going to sort of say, "Oh, I'm playing 2496 files" and light up accordingly, didn't. Okay, I had to go into a utility in the Mac to change the resolution of the file that it was playing at. Okay, and I couldn't actually hear any difference at all between having the thing set on 16-bit 44 and having it set on 96k. So I wrote Hi-Fi World a letter, and I entitled it, and this was part of my 2 emails basically, which I sent, but they omitted to write this half in their magazine, possibly because, as I say, they didn't want to take up the whole lot. So this is the bit that was missed out. Okay, all right, and the whole thing was called "I'm Skeptical About High Resolution Audio." Okay, I subscribe to the old school hi-fi adage, if indeed it is old school, that garbage in equals garbage out. Hence, if the source code is rubbish, the resultant noise will also be rubbish. Album mastering still seems to be pandering to the loudness war, something which has been waging since the late 90s. Engineers seem to be under a lot of pressure to employ all sorts of skullduggery to make this week's latest release sound louder than last week's, and understandably, the need to work next week means that they bow to marketing pressure. The result is that the natural peaks and troughs in the sound waveform are evened out, thus enabling the whole sound wave to have a volume increase applied, often all the way up to and beyond the level at which the sound clips. Not only does this rob the music of its natural rhythm, but it creates a very unnatural sounding dynamic range. Beg your pardon. In modern chart releases, which seem to be the most prone to the loudness war. Often the choruses begin with 1 or 2 louder and heavier beats before the volume is squashed back to the same level to achieve the illusion of a natural crescendo building up to a loud chorus. It sounds awful, and it does. It does. Just listen to anything by Conchita. I love Conchita, but you can hear this sort of huge they're trying to get this impression of a huge crescendo, right? So you might have a so-called quiet verse, which is actually very loud, building up to a chorus. The first couple of beats of the chorus are usually sort of kind of thing, and then the whole thing just squashes back down again. And it's not good. It really is not good. It doesn't work. Blah, blah, blah. I've read up a few articles on the loudness war, and I don't hear mention of another phenomenon, and that is the realistic dynamics of an album as a whole. By this I mean that the piano solo vocal ballad on track 2 should not be as loud as the full rock out that is track 3, but so often this is the case, and it is often literally painful to listen to for an album length. I don't mean to sound fuddy-duddy, neither do I underestimate the problems of getting a powerful drum kit or orchestra to sound powerful without clipping. I just know that there are albums in my collection, usually pre-late 90s, that sound fantastic and beg me to turn the volume up. I actually like loud music, but I don't like over-compressed music, and no matter how good the system is, it can't totally save a bad master, which is what I was trying to do really with my cable tweaks and whatever to try and sort out bad masterings really. The only saving grace is that hi-fi separates enthusiasts can tweak out to some extent the sonic nasties. Rather than convincing the public to spend yet more money going high-res, it seems that no one can convince the industry as a whole to adopt sane mastering techniques that sound good and don't induce nosebleeds, regardless of the format. A lot of really good music is being ruined. I'd rather hear a well-mastered 7-inch single on my old BSR mono record player that looked like a suitcase than hear the current 24-bit loudness ward remaster of the same track. So that was point 1, okay, that the mastering is so bad that in a lot of cases that the mastering is so bad that high resolution or not, it's still going to sound terrible. Number 2, in a blind test where the components were an entry-level high-resolution player and a top-notch multi-thousand-pound CD setup, how many listeners, and I think to be fair let's call them average music lovers, not hi-fi enthusiasts, would correctly identify the high-resolution audio? Let's be kind and give them music master to acceptable levels. Okay, so basically how many people have heard how good CD can actually sound being played on something decent? And it's not many. Okay. As I say, in point number 3, I suspect the answer to point 2 is not many. Whilst the CD is not perfect and I much prefer vinyl, it seems that a lot of industry pressure is being put on Joe Public to go high res, when in fact their systems are not capable of revealing all or even any of the benefits. I do agree that compressed low bitrate audio sounds inferior to a CD that's been ripped at WAV or AIF. So essentially talking about downloads, Spotify's and iTunes and things like that. Okay, most definitely. You see, even my Isley Brothers high resolution thing, it sounded as good as the CD, but it only sounded as good as the CD. So let's just start that sentence again because I'm a bit confused. Okay. So while the CD is not perfect and I much prefer vinyl, it seems a lot of industry pressure is being put on Joe Public to go high res when in fact their systems are not capable of revealing all or even any of the benefits. I do agree that compressed low bitrate audio sounds inferior to a CD that's been ripped at WAV or AIF, and that even on a lowly iPhone the latter is more acceptable to listen to given reasonable headphones, i.e. WAV or AIF files sound better on an iPhone or mobile phone or iPod or whatever than the downloads basically. But some of the high-res services are even offering apps that enable an iOS/Android phone or tablet to reproduce 2496 audio. Why? Again, I doubt that many people will be able to tell the difference between uncompressed 1644 and 20, i.e. CD, and 2496, i.e. high-res, on a lowly mobile phone. You just can't do it. Which many people will partner with the same headphones that the unit came with. Yeah, you see, this is where's the sane advice coming from? You know, if you've got a mobile phone, upgrade your headphones and don't buy those awful Beats things which are just trendy and are just being sold on a name. Buy a decent pair of headphones by Sennheiser or Beyerdynamic or someone like that. Okay, my lovely Beyerdynamic DR 880s, I think they are. Headphones.co.uk, a few years ago, they were only about 80 quid. They were reduced from about 200, and they're fantastic, absolutely fantastic pair of headphones. And you know, if you listen to anything on there, even low quality stuff, it still sounds one heck of a lot better than using the same headphones that the thing came with. You know, even the new Apple headphones are not good. You know, the old cheap and nasties that they used to bung with every iDevice were terrible. But you know, the new ones aren't that much better. Okay, get a decent pair of headphones, and then it won't matter what res you're listening to. It will sound one heck of a lot more acceptable. Okay, just putting on this this high res file and thinking that it sounds brilliant just because it's a high res file is rubbish, absolute rubbish. So anyway, I said there'll be a tiny bit of feel-good factor about listening to the music as the artist intended, which I've always said is rubbish as well, but not much more. If the mobile phone can reproduce high-res music, why are many readers of this magazine prepared to spend hundreds or even thousands of pounds for the same privilege? And if the average listener can be swayed to upgrade to hi-fi components, the lack of standardisation and the bewildering array of solutions and alax and flax make the process extremely daunting for a newbie. To surmise, true high resolution, I believe, is not format dependent. It starts with good mastering. Given the former, i.e. good mastering, I put it to the public at large that a budget LP or CD playing system where the components achieve sonic synergy and one which makes listening pleasurable, and this is down to the taste of the listener, will sound as high resolution as high-res audio files being played on a system of insufficient quality to realise the benefits. From my limited experience of high-res files, I believe that such a system requires sampling rate amounts of money. Anyone got a spare 96k, i.e. £96,000, to be spent not only on file decoding hardware, but suitably revealing amplification and speakers. If your speakers aren't going to reveal it, then there's no point in having it, is there? I finished by saying that I'm just trying to counter some of the marketing hype with level-headedness. I wouldn't want the points I've raised in my letter to persuade readers to avoid the music they like. My DAC-R and iMac are, as I type, well they were, pumping extremely low-res, 112 kbps, absolute rock internet radio through my LX-R and RS5s. Compared with the Apollo and a good CD going through the DAC-R, it sounds relatively horrid due to the low bit rate, but I am enjoying the music. Okay, so I mean, you know, there are just so many variables again. Okay, and you know, just to it just seems like they're making the same mistakes again as they made with CD by calling CD perfect. That was, you know, a dreadful mistake, because then they all had to go back on themselves. It's like, oh, it's not perfect, and then they started offering like 16-bit 4 times over sampling CD players and stuff, trying to make sure that the machinery was kind of trying to overcome the limitations of the low bit rate that they'd chosen in the first place, you know. So you know, it's just hype. It's just hype. To call high res perfect, you know, you actually need to have a jolly good system in order to reveal the benefits of it. Okay, that's really all I'm saying. Okay, and to wander around, oh, I've got the app on my phone that plays high res files, you know, you're not going to get any better than a CD. It's really not going to sound any better than a CD. In fact, probably not as good as a CD. Get a CD on a it doesn't have to be an expensive system, but get a CD playing on a decent setup, that achieves sonic synergy, and it will sound fantastic. Get an album, a vinyl album, playing on a similar setup, and it will also sound fantastic. Sorry, I'm putting my password in again, and my screen's gone blank. Hopefully you can still all see me. Oh, I've got to put my password in yet again. Right, beg your pardon. Right, okay, so anyway, 20 minutes, and yeah, I'm off now. Okay, see you later. Bye.